to our Sunday Krishna book reading to Srila Prabhupada here in his sacred rooms in Sri Vrindavan Dham. Devotees are arriving now to read to you Srila Prabhupada. So we've started Krishna book again. This is the fourth time around now. So before we begin, let us offer our humble obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and to each other. Namo Om Vishnuvadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paskachade Shatarane. And to each other, Vanchakalpa Drubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So as I was mentioning, we've started Krishna book again. We've been reading Krishna book to Srila Prabhupada for almost 3.5 years now, every Sunday. And as Prabhupada said, Krishna book never gets old, never gets stale. We can hear the stories about Krishna over and over again, and there will be always something very relishable. So I thought maybe we could start this week with the preface and the introduction that Prabhupada wrote with his own hand. And this gives us a little background to why Prabhupada presented the Krishna book. 1970, Prabhupada completed the Krishna book. So beginning with the preface, everyone online, you can note the subtitles below, so that will help you to follow along if English is your second language. So let's begin with the preface. Prabhupada is quoting from the Bhagavatam. Nivrittatar ser upagiyamanad. But we can join with me. Bhava sadachit chochamano biramat kautama shloka gunamo vadat puman virajeta pashunyat. Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 1st chapter, verse number 4. In the Western countries, when someone sees the cover of a book like Krishna, he immediately asks, "Who is Krishna? Who is the girl with Krishna?" The immediate answer is that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How is that? Because he confirms in exact detail to descriptions of the Supreme Being, the Godhead. In other words, Krishna is the Godhead, because there is no meaning to the word Godhead. How is it one can be all attractive? First of all, if one is very wealthy, if he has great riches, he becomes attractive to the people in general. Similarly, if someone is very powerful, he also becomes attractive. And if someone is very beautiful or wise or unattached to all kinds of possessions, he also becomes attractive. So, from practical experience, we can observe that one is attractive due to wealth, power, fame, beauty, wisdom, and renunciation. One who is in possession of all 6 of these opulences at the same time, who possesses them to an unlimited degree, is understood to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These opulences of the Godhead are delineated by Parsar Muni, a great Vedic authority.
We have seen many richest person, many powerful person, many famous person, and many beautiful person, many learned and scholarly persons, and person in the renounced order of life unattached to the material position. But we have never seen any person who is unlimitedly and simultaneously wealthy, powerful, famous, beautiful, wise, and unattached like Krishna. In the history of humility, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is a historical person who appeared on this earth 5,000 years ago. He stayed on this earth for 125 years and played exactly like a human being. But his activities were unparalleled from the very moment of his appearance to the moment of his disappearance. Every one of his activities is unparalleled in the history of the world, and therefore, anyone who knows what we mean by Godheaded will accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godheaded. No one is equal to Godheaded and no one is greater than him. That is the topmost of the familiar saying, God is great.
There are various classes of men in the world who speak of God in different ways, but according to the Vedic literatures and according to the great acharyas, the authorized persons versed in the knowledge of God in all ages, like acharyas Shankara, Ramanuja, Madhva, Vishnu Swami, Lord Chaitanya, and all their followers by disciplic succession, all unanimously agree that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As far as we, the followers of the Vedic civilization, are concerned, we accept the Vedic history of the whole universe, which consists of different planetary systems called Svargaloka, or the higher planetary system, Madhyaloka, or the intermediary planetary system, and Patala or the lower planetary system. The modern historians of this earth cannot supply historical evidences of events that occurred before 5,000 years ago, and the anthropologists say that 40,000 years ago, Homo sapiens has not appeared on this planet because evolution had not reached that point. But the Vedic histories, such as Puranas and Mahabharata, relate human histories which extend millions and billions of years into the past.
For example, from these literatures, we are given the histories of Krishna's appearances and disappearances millions and billions of years ago. In the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna that both he and Arjuna had had many births before, and that he, Krishna, could remember all of them, but Arjuna could not. This illustrates the difference between the knowledge of Krishna and that of Arjuna. Arjuna might have been a very great warrior, a well-cultured member of the Kuru dynasty, but after all, he was an ordinary human being, whereas Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is a possessor of unlimited knowledge. Because he possesses unlimited knowledge, Krishna has a memory that is boundless. Krishna's knowledge is so perfect that he remembers all the incidences of his appearances for some millions and billions of years in the past, but Arjuna's memory and knowledge are limited by time and space, for he is an ordinary human being. In the 4th chapter, Krishna states that he can remember instructing the lessons of the Bhagavad Gita some millions of years ago to the sun god Vrindavan.
Nowadays, it is the fashion of the atheistic class of men to try to become God by following some mystic process. Generally, the atheists claim to be God by dint of their imagination or their meditational prowess. Krishna is not that kind of God. He does not become God by manufacturing some mystic process of meditation, nor does he become God by undergoing the severe austerities of the mystic yoga exercises. Properly speaking, He never becomes God because he is the Godhead in all circumstances. Within the prison of his maternal uncle Kamsa, where his father and mother were confined, Krishna appeared outside his mother's body as the four-handed Vishnu Narayan. Then he turned himself into a baby and told his father to carry him to the house of Nanda Maharaj and his wife Yashoda. When Krishna was just a small baby, the gigantic demoness Putana attempted to kill him, but when he sucked her breast, he pulled out her life. That is the difference between the real Godhead and a god manufactured in the mystic factory. Krishna had no chance to practice the mystic yoga process, yet he manifested himself as the Supreme Personality of Godhead at every step. From infancy to childhood, from childhood to boyhood, and from boyhood to young manhood. In this book, Krishna, all of his activities as a human being are described. Although Krishna plays like a human being, he always maintains his identity as the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Since Krishna is all attractive, one should know that all his desires should be forced on Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the individual person is the proprietor of or master of his own body. But Krishna, who is the super soul present in everyone's heart, is the supreme proprietor and the supreme master of each and every individual body. As such, if we concentrate our loving potency upon Krishna, only then immediately universal love, unite and tranquility will be automatically realized. When one waters the root of the tree, he automatically waters the branches, twigs, leaves, and the flowers. When one supplies food to the stomach through the mouth, he satisfies all various parts of his body. The art of forcing one's attention on the Supreme and giving one's love to him is called Krishna consciousness. We have inaugurated the Krishna consciousness movement so that everyone can satisfy his potency for loving others simply by directing his love toward Krishna. The whole world is very eager to satisfy the dormant potency of love for others, but the various invented methods like socialism, communism, altruism, humanitarianism, and nationalism, along which whatever else may be manufactured for the peace and prosperity of the world, are all useless and frustrating. Because of our gross ignorance of the art of loving Krishna, generally people think that by advancing the cause of the moral principle and religion recites their will be happy. Others may think that happiness can be achieved by economic development, and yet others think that simply by sense gratification they will be happy. But the real fact is that people can be happy only by loving Krishna.
Krishna can perfectly reciprocate one's loving propensities in different relationships called melos or rasas. Basically, there are 12 loving relationships. One can love Krishna as the Supreme Unknown, as the Supreme Master, the Supreme Friend, the Supreme Child, the Supreme Lover. These are the 5 basic love rasas. One can also love Krishna indirectly in 7 different relationships, which are apparently different from the 5 primary relationships. All in all, however, If one simply reposes his dormant loving propensity in Krishna, then his life becomes successful. This is not a fiction, but is a fact that can be realized by practical application. One can directly perceive the effects that love for Krishna has on his life. In the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, this science of Krishna consciousness is called the king of all knowledge, the king of all confidential things, and the supreme science of transcendental realization. Yet we can directly experience the results of this science of Krishna consciousness because it is very easy to practice and is very pleasurable. Whatever percentage of Krishna consciousness we can perform will become an eternal asset to our life, for it is imperishable in all circumstances. It has now been actually proved that today's confused and frustrated younger generation in the Western countries can directly perceive the results of channeling the loving propensity toward Krishna alone.
It is said that although one executes severe austerities, penances, and sacrifices in his life, if he fails to awaken his dormant love for Krishna, then all his penances are to be considered useless. On the other hand, if one has awakened his dormant love for Krishna, then what is the use in executing austerities and penances unnecessarily? The Krishna conscious movement is the unique gift of Lord Chaitanya to the fallen souls of this age. It is a very simple method which has actually been carried out during the last 4 years in the Western countries. And there is no doubt that this movement can satisfy the dormant loving propensities of humanity. This book, Krishna, is another presentation to help the Krishna consciousness movement in the Western world. This transcendental work of literature is published with profuse illustrations. People love to read various kinds of fiction to spend their time and energy. Now this tendency can be directed to Krishna. The result will be the imperishable satisfaction of the soul, both individually and collectively.
It is said in the Bhagavad Gita that even a little effort expended on the path of Krishna consciousness can save one from the greatest danger. Hundreds of thousands of examples can be cited of people who have escaped the greatest dangers of life due to a slight advancement in Krishna consciousness. We therefore request everyone to take advantage of this great transcendental literary work. One will find that by reading one page after another, an immense treasure of knowledge in art, science, literature, philosophy, and religion will be revealed. And ultimately, by reading this one book, Krishna, love of Godhead will fructify. My grateful acknowledgement is due to Sriman George Harrison, now chanting Hare Krishna, for his liberal contribution of $19,000 to meet the entire cost of printing this volume. May Krishna bestow upon this nice boy further advancement in Krishna consciousness. And at last, my ever-willing blessings are bestowed upon Sriman Sundardas Adhikari, Sriman Brahmananda Das Brahmachari, Sriman Hayagriva Das Adhikari, Sriman Satsvarup Das Adhikari, Srimati Devi Huti Devi Dasi, Srimati Jadharani Devi Dasi, Sriman Murliadhar Das Brahmachari, Sriman Bhardaraj Das Adhikari, and Sriman Pradumna Das Adhikari, etc., for their hard labor in different ways to make this publication a great success. Hare Krishna. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Advent Day of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, February 26, 1970, ISKCON headquarters, 3764 Watsika Avenue, Los Angeles, California. So now we'll move on to the introduction that Srila Prabhupada wrote.
Krishna, 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 He. Krishna, 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 He. Krishna, 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 Raksha Ma. Krishna, 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 Pai Ma. राम राघव राम राघव राम लाघव रक्षा माँ कृष्णा केशव कृष्णा केशव पाई माँ चैतन्य चरित्र 796. While attempting to write this book, Krishna, let me first offer my respectful obeisances unto the spiritual master, Om Vishnupad 108 Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada. Then let me offer my respectful obeisances to Ocean of Mercy, Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, appearing in the role of a devotee just to distribute the highest principle of devotional service. Lord Chaitanya began his preaching from the country known as Guradesh, West Bengal, and as I belong to the Madhava Gauriya Sampradaya, I must therefore offer my respectful obeisances to the disciple succession of that name. This Madhava Gauriya Sampradaya is also known as the Brahma Sampradaya because the disciple succession originally began from Brahma. Brahma instructed the sages Narada. Narada instructed Vyasadeva, and Vyasadeva instructed Madhav Muni or the Madhavendra Acharya. Madhavendra Puri, the originator of the Madhava Gauriya Sampradaya, was a sannyasi who belonged to the Madhavendra Acharya disciple succession. He had many renounced disciples such as Nityanand Prabhu, Advaita Prabhu, Ishwara Prabhu. Ishwara Puri happened to be the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya. So let us offer our respectful obeisances to Ishwara Puri, Nityanand Prabhu, Advaita Acharya Prabhu, Srinivas Pandit and Sri Gadadhar Pandit. Next, let us offer our respectful obeisances to Sarv Damodar, who acted as a private secretary of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and let us offer our respectful obeisances to Sri Vasudev Datta and the concert attendant of Lord Chaitanya, Sri Govinda, and the concert friend of Lord Chaitanya Mukunda, and also the Murari Gupta, and let us offer our respectful obeisances to such 6 Goswami of Vrindavan, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, Sri Gopal Bhatt Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Raghunath Das Goswami. Krishna himself has explained in Bhagavad Gita that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and whatever there are discrepancy in the regulatory principle of man's religion life and promises of irreligion activities, he appeared this earthly planet. In other words, when Lord Krishna appeared, there was necessity of minimizing the load of sinful activities accumulated on this planet or in this universe.
For affairs of the material creation, Lord Mahavishnu, the plenary portion of the Krishna, is in charge. Thus, when the Lord descends, the incarnations emanates from Vishnu. Mahavishnu is the original cause of the material creation, and from him, Garbhodakshay Vishnu expands. and then Kshirodashaya Vishnu. Generally, all the incarnations appearing within this material universe are plenary expansions from Kshirodaya Vishnu. Therefore, the business of minimizing the overload of sinful activities on this earth doesn't belong to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. But when Krishna appears, all the Vishnu expansions join with him. Krishna's different expansions, namely Narayan, the quadruple expansion of Vasudeva, Sankarsana, Pradyumna and Anuruddha, as well as the partial plenary expansions like the Matsya, the incarnation of a fish, the Yuga Avtaras, that is incarnations for the millennium, and the Manvantara Avtaras, thus incarnations associated with the reign of the Manus, all combine together and appear with the body of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is the complete whole, and thus all plenary expansion and incarnations always live with him. Therefore, when Krishna appeared, Lord Vishnu was with him. Krishna actually appears in order to demonstrate his Vrindavana pastimes, and in this way attracts the fortunate conditioned souls and invite them back home, back to Godhead. The killing of the demons in Vrindavana was carried out only by the Vishnu portion of Krishna.
The Lord's abode is described in the Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter, 20th verse, where it is stated that there is another eternal nature, the spiritual sky, which is transcendental to the manifested and non-manifested matter. The manifested world can be seen in the form of many stars and planetary systems, such as the sun and moon, but beyond this, there is a non-manifested portion, which is not approachable by anyone in this body. And beyond that non-manifested matter is the spiritual kingdom. That kingdom is described in the Bhagavad Gita as supreme and eternal, never to be annihilated. This material nature is subjected to repeated creation and annihilation, but that part, the spiritual nature, remains as it is eternally.
The supreme abode of the personality of Godhead Krishna is also described in the Brahma Samhita as the abode of Chintamani. That abode of Lord Krishna, known as Goloka Vrindavan, is full of palaces made of touchstone. There the trees are called desire trees, and the cows are called Saravi. The Lord is served there by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. His name is Govinda, the primeval Lord, and he's the cause of all causes. There the Lord plays his flute. His eyes are like lotus petals, and the color of his body is like that of a beautiful cloud. On his head is a peacock feather. He is so attractive that he excels thousands of cupids. Lord Krishna gives only a little hint in the Gita of his personal abode, which is the supermost planet in the spiritual kingdom. But in Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna actually appears with all his paraphernalia and demonstrates his activities in Vrindavan, then at Mathura, and then at Dwarka. The subject matter of this book will gradually reveal all these activities.
The family in which Krishna appeared is called the Yadu dynasty. The Yadu dynasty belongs to the family descending from Shoma, the god in the moon planet. There are two different Kshatriya families of the royal order, one descending from the king of the moon planet and the other descending from the king of the sun planet. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears, he generally appears in a Kshatriya family because he has to establish religious principles or the life of righteousness. The Kshatriya family is the protector of the human race according to the Vedic system. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared as Lord Ramachandra, he appeared in the family descending from the sun god, known as the Raghuvamsha. And when he appeared as Lord Krishna, he did so in the family known as the Yaduvamsha. There is a long list of the kings of the Yaduvamsha in the 9th canto, 24th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. All of them were great, powerful kings. Krishna's father's name was Vasudeva, son of Surasena, descending from the Yadu dynasty. Actually, the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not belong to any dynasty of this material world, but the family in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears becomes famous by His grace. For example, sandalwood is produced in the states of Malaya. Sandalwood has its own qualifications apart from Malaya, but because accidentally this wood is mainly produced in the states of Malaya, it is known as Malayan sandalwood. Similarly, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, belongs to everyone. But just as the sun rises from the east, although there are other directions from which it could rise, so by His own choice the Lord appears in a particular family, and that family becomes famous.
As explained above, when Krishna appeared, all his planetary expansion appeared with him. Krishna appeared along with the Baldev, who is known as his elder brother. Balram is the origin of the Sankarsana. On the quarterly expansion, Balram is also the planetary expansion of Krishna. In this book, the attempt will be made to show how Krishna appeared in the family of Yadu dynasty and how he displayed his transcendental characters. This is very widely described in Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the 10th canto, and thus the base of this book will be the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The pastime of Lord are generally heard and released by the liberated soul, those who are conditioned soul and interested in reading stories of the material activities or some common men. Although similar narrations describing the transcendental activities of Lord are found in Srimad Bhagavatam and other Puranas, the conditioned soul still prefer to study ordinary narrations. They are not so interested in studying the narrations of the pastime of Lord Krishna. And yet the description of the pastime of Lord Krishna are so attractive that they are realizable for all classes of men. There are 3 classes of men in this world. One class consists of the liberated soul, another consists of those who are trying to be liberated, and the third consists of the materialist men. Whether one is liberated or is trying to be liberated or is even grossly materialist, the pastime of Lord Krishna are worth studying.
Liberated souls have no interest in materialistic activities. The impersonality's theory that after liberation, one becomes inactive and need not hear anything doesn't prove that a liberated person is actually inactive. A living soul cannot be inactive. He is active either in the conditioned state or in the liberated state. A diseased person, for example, is also active, but his activities are all painful. The same person, when freed from the disease condition, is still active, but in the healthy conditions, the activities are full of pleasure. Similarly, the impersonalities not only seek to get free from the disease condition activities, but they have no information of the activities in the healthy condition. Those who are actually liberated and in full knowledge take to hearing the activities of Krishna. Such engagements is pure spiritual activity. It is essential for persons who are actually liberated to hear about the pastimes of Krishna. That is a supreme relishable subject matter for one in the liberated state. Also, if persons who are trying to be liberated hear such narrations as the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, then their path of liberation becomes very clear. The Bhagavad Gita is the preliminary study of Srimad Bhagavatam. By studying the Gita, one becomes fully conscious of the position of Lord Krishna, and when he is situated at the lotus feet of Krishna, he understands the narrations of Krishna as described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Chaitanya has therefore advised his followers that their business is to propagate Krishna Katha.
Krishna Katha means narrations about Lord Krishna. There are two Krishna Kathas, narrations spoken by Krishna and narrations spoken about Krishna. The Bhagavad Gita is the narration or the philosophy on the science of God, spoken by Krishna himself. Srimad Bhagavatam is the narration about the activities and transcendental pastimes of Krishna. Both are Krishna Katha. It is the order of Lord Chaitanya that Krishna Katha should be spread all over the world, because if the conditioned souls suffering under the pangs of material existence take to Krishna Katha, then their path of liberation will be open and clear. The purpose of presenting this book is primarily to induce people to understand Krishna or Krishna Katha, because thereby they can become freed from material bondage. This Krishna Katha will also be very much appealing to the most materialistic persons, because Krishna's pastimes with the gopis, cowherd girls, are exactly like the loving affairs between young girls and boys within this material world. Actually, the sex feeling found in human society is not unnatural, because this same sex feeling is there in the original personality of Godhead. The pleasure potency is called Srimati Radharani. The attraction of loving affairs on the basis of sex feeling is the original feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we, the conditioned souls, being part and parcel of the Supreme, have such feelings also, but they are experienced within a perverted, minute condition. Therefore, when those who are after sex life in this material world hear about Krishna's pastimes with the gopis, they will relish transcendental pleasure, although it appears to be materialistic. The advantage will be that they will gradually be elevated to the spiritual platform. In the Bhagavatam, it is stated that if one hears the pastimes of Lord Krishna with the gopis from authorities with submission, then he will be promoted to the platform of transcendental loving service to the Lord, and the material disease of lust within his heart will be completely vanquished. In other words, such hearing will counteract material sex life.
This book, Krishna, which is filled with Krishna Katha, will thus appeal equally to the liberated souls and to persons who are trying to be liberated, as well as to the gross conditioned materialists. According to the statements of Maharaja Parikshit, who heard about Krishna from Sukadev Goswami, Krishna Katha is equally applicable to every human being, whatever condition of life he is in. Surely everyone will appreciate it to the highest magnitude. But Maharaja Parikshit also warned that persons who are simply engaged in killing animals and in killing themselves may not be very much attracted to Krishna Katha. In other words, ordinary persons who are following the regulative moral principles of scriptures, no matter in what condition they are found, will certainly be attracted, but not persons who are killing themselves. The exact word used in Srimad Bhagavatam is pasttime, which means one who is killing animals or killing himself. Persons who are not self-realized and who are not interested in spiritual realization are killing themselves. They are committing suicide, because this human form of life is especially meant for self-realization. By neglecting this important part of his activities, one simply wastes his time like the animals. so he is Pashugna. The other meaning of the word refers to those who are actually killing animals. This means persons who are animal eaters, even dog eaters, for they are all engaged in killing animals in so many ways, such as hunting and opening slaughterhouses. Such persons cannot be interested in Krishna Katha.
King Pariksit was especially interested in hearing Krishna Katha because he knew that his forefathers, particularly his grandfather Arjuna, were victorious in the great battle of Kurukshetra only because of Krishna. We may also take this material world as a battlefield of Kurukshetra. Everyone is struggling hard for existence on this battlefield, and at every step there is danger. According to Maharaj Pariksit, the battlefield Kurukshetra was just like a vast ocean full of dangerous animals. His grandfather Arjuna had to fight with such great heroes as Bhishma, Drona, Karna, and many others who were not ordinary fighters. Such warriors have been compared to the Tamingala fish in the ocean. The Tamingala fish can very well swallow up big whales. The great fighters on the battlefield of Kurukshetra could swallow many, many Arjunas very easily. But simply due to Krishna's mercy, Arjuna was able to kill all of them. Just as one can cross with no exertion over the little bit of water contained in the hoofprint of a calf, so Arjuna, by the grace of Krishna, was able to very easily jump over the ocean of the battle of Kurukshetra.
Maharaj Pariksit very much appreciated Krishna's activities for many other reasons. Not only was his grandfather saved by Krishna, but he himself also was saved by Krishna. By the end of the battle of Kurukshetra, all the members of the Kuru dynasty, both the sons and the grandsons on the side of Dhritarashtra and those on the side of the Pandavas, had died in the fighting. Except the 5 Pandava brothers, everyone died on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Maharaj Pariksit was at that time within the womb of his mother. His father, Abhimanyu, the son of Arjuna, had also died on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and so Maharaj Pariksit was a posthumous child. When he was in the womb of his mother, a Brahmastra weapon was released by Ashvatthama to kill the child. When Pariksit Maharaj's mother, Uttara, approached Krishna, Krishna, seeing the danger of abortion, entered her womb as the Supersoul and saved Maharaj Pariksit. Maharaj Parikshit's other name is Vishnurata because he was saved by Lord Vishnu himself while still within the womb.
Thus, everyone in any condition of life should be interested in hearing about Krishna and his activities, because he is the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. He is all-pervading. Inside, he is the living within everyone's heart, and outside, he is living as his universal form, and yet, as described in the Bhagavad Gita, he appears as in the human society just to invite everyone to his transcendental abode, back home, back to Godhead. Everyone should be interested in knowing about Krishna, and this Krishna book is presented with the purpose that people may know about Krishna and be perfectly benefited in this human form of life.
In the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Baladeva is described as the son of Rohini, a wife of Vasudeva. Vasudeva, the father of Krishna, had 16 wives, and one of them was Rohini, the mother of Baladeva. But Baladeva is also described as the son of Devaki. So how could he be the son of both Devaki and Rohini? This was one of the questions put by Parikshit Maharaj to Shukadev Goswami, and it will be answered in due course. Maharaj Parikshit also asked Shukadev Goswami why Sri Krishna, just after his appearance as the son of Vasudev, was immediately carried to the house of the Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan, Gokula. He also wanted to know what the activities of Lord Krishna were while he was in Vrindavana and while he was in Mathura. Besides that, he was especially inquisitive to know why Krishna killed his maternal uncle Kansa. Kansa, being the brother of his mother, was a very intimate superior to Krishna. So how was it that he killed Kamsa? Also Maharaj Parikshit asked how many years Lord Krishna remained in the human society, how many years he reigned over the kingdom of Dwarika, and how many wives he accepted there. A Kshatriya king is generally accustomed to accept more than one wife. Therefore Maharaj Parikshit also inquired about his number of wives. The subject matter of this book is Shukadeva Goswami's answering of these and other questions asked by Maharaj Parikshit.
The position of Maharaj Parikshit and Shukadev Goswami is unique. Maharaj Parikshit is the right person to hear about the transcendental pastimes of Krishna, and Shukadev Goswami is the right person to describe them. If such a fortunate combination is made possible, then Krishna Katha immediately becomes revealed, and people may benefit to the highest possible degree from such a conversation. This narration was presented by Shukadev Goswami when Maharaj Parikshit was prepared to give up his body, fasting on the bank of the Ganga. In order to assure Shukadev Goswami that by hearing Krishna Katha he would not feel tired, Maharaj Parikshit expressed himself very frankly. Hunger and thirst may give trouble to ordinary persons or to me, but the topics of Krishna are so nice that one can continue to hear them without feeling tired because such hearing situates one in the transcendental position. It is understood that one must be very fortunate to hear Krishna Katha as seriously as Maharaj Parikshit did. He was especially intent on the subject matter because he was expecting death at any moment. Every one of us should be conscious of death at every moment. This life is not at all assured. At any time one can die. It does not matter whether one is a young man or an old man. So before death takes place, we must be fully Krishna conscious.
At the point of his death, King Parikshit was hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukadev Goswami. When King Parikshit expressed his untiring desire to hear about Krishna, Shukadev Goswami was very much pleased. Shukadev was the greatest of all Bhagavata reciters, and thus he began to speak about Krishna's pastimes, which destroy all inauspiciousness in this age of Kali. Shukadev Goswami thanked the king for his eagerness to hear about Krishna, and he encouraged him by saying, "My dear king, your intelligence is very keen because you are so eager to hear about the pastimes of Krishna." He informed Maharaj Parikshit that hearing and chanting the pastimes of Krishna are so auspicious that the processes purify the three varieties of men involved: he who recites the transcendental topics of Krishna, he who hears such topics, and he who inquires about him. These pastimes are just like the Ganges water, which flows from the toe of Lord Vishnu. They purify the three worlds, the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems.
Just beginning.
No, you can explain to our audience. We're going to continue with chapter 3, right?
Okay. So now we will begin chapter 3, entitled The Birth of Lord Krishna.
Because we read the other
because previously we had read, before we did the preface and the introduction, we had already read chapters 1 and 2. So now we're going to begin chapter 3. And as I said, this will be about the birth of Sri Krishna, Lord Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that his appearance, birth, and activities are all transcendental, that one who understands them factually becomes immediately eligible to be transferred to the spiritual world. The Lord's appearance or birth is not like that of an ordinary man who is forced to accept a material body according to his past deeds. The Lord's appearance is explained in the 2nd chapter. He appears out of his own sweet pleasure. When the time was mature for the appearance of the Lord, the constellations became very auspicious. The astrological influence of the star known as Rohini was predominant. This star is considered to be very auspicious, and it is under the direct supervision of Brahma. According to the astrological conclusion, besides the proper situation of the stars, there are auspicious and inauspicious moments due to the different situations of the different planetary systems. At the time of Krishna's birth, the planetary systems were automatically adjusted so that everything became auspicious.
At that time, in all directions, east, west, south, north, everywhere, there was an atmosphere of peace and prosperity. There were auspicious stars visible in the sky and on the surface of the earth, in all towns and villages and pasturing grounds, and within the minds of everyone, there were signs of good fortune. The rivers were flowing full of waters, and lakes were beautifully decorated with lotus flowers. The forests were full with beautiful birds and peacocks. All the birds within the forest began to sing with sweet voices, and the peacocks began to dance along with their consorts. The wind blew very pleasantly, carrying the aroma of different flowers, and the sensation of bodily touch was very pleasing. At home, the brahmanas, who were accustomed to offering sacrifices in the fire, found their homes very pleasant for offerings. Due to disturbances created by the demoniac kings, the sacrificial fire had been almost stopped in the houses of brahmanas, but now they could find the opportunity to start the fire peacefully. Being forbidden to offer sacrifices, the brahmanas had been very much distressed in mind, intelligence, and activities. But just on the point of Krishna's appearance, automatically their minds became full of joy because they could hear transcendental vibrations in the sky proclaiming the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
The descendants of Gandharva and Kinnara planet began to sing, and the descendants of Siddhaloka and the planet of the Kannada began to offer prayers in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the heavenly planet, the angels and their wives, along with their Vidyas and their wives, began to dance. The great sages and the demigods began to shower flowers at the seashore. There was the sound of mild waves, and above the sea there were clouds in the sky, which began to thunder and pleasingly. When things were adjusted like this, Lord Vishnu, who is residing within the heart of every living entity, appeared in the darkness of night as the Supreme Personality of Godhead before Devaki, who appeared as one of the demigoddesses. The appearance of the Lord Vishnu at the time could be compared to the rising of the full moon over the eastern horizon. The objection may be raised that since Lord Krishna appeared on the 8th day of waning moon, there would be no rising of the full moon. In the answer to this is that he said that Lord Krishna appeared in the dynasty which is in the hurricanes of the moon. Therefore, although the moon was incomplete on that night because of the Lord's appearance in the dynasty, there wherein the moon is himself the original person, the moon was in an overjoy condition. So, by the grace of Krishna, he could appear just like a full moon.
In the astronomical treatise by the name Kamanikya, the constellations at the time of the appearance of Lord Krishna are very nicely described. It is confirmed that the child born at that auspicious moment was the Supreme Brahman, or the Absolute Truth. Vasudeva saw that wonderful child born as a baby with 4 hands, holding conchial club disc lotus flower, decorated with the mark of Srivatsa, wearing the jewel necklace of the Kaustuba stone, dressed in yellow silk, appearing dazzling like a bright blackish cloud, wearing a helmet bedecked with the Vaidurya stone, valuable bracelets, earrings, and similar other ornaments all over his body, and beautiful by an abundance of an hair on his head. Due to the extraordinary features of the child, Vasudeva was struck with wonder. How could a newly born child be so decorated? Vasudeva could therefore understand that the Lord Krishna has now appeared, and he became overpowered by the occasion. Vasudeva very humbly wondered that although he was an ordinary living entity conditioned by material nature and was externally imprisoned by Kamsa, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, Vishnu or Krishna, had appeared as a child in his home, exactly in his original position. No earthly child is born with 4 hands, decorated with ornaments and nice clothings, fully equipped with all the signs of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Over and over again, Vasudeva glanced at a child, and he considered how to celebrate this auspicious moment. Generally, when a male child is born, he thought, people observe the occasion with jubilant celebration. And in my home, although I am imprisoned, the Supreme Personality of Godhead has taken birth. How many millions and millions of times should I be prepared to observe this auspicious ceremony?
When Vasudeva, who is also called Anakadundubi, was looking at his newborn baby, he was so happy that he wanted to give many thousands of cows in charity to the Brahmanas. According to the Vedic system, whenever there is an auspicious ceremony in the Kshatriya king's palace, out of joy the king gives many things in charity. Cows decorated with golden ornaments are delivered to the brahmanas and sages. Vasudeva wanted to perform a charitable ceremony to celebrate Krishna's appearance. But because he was shackled within the walls of Kamsa's prison, this was not possible. Instead, within his mind, he gave thousands of cows to the brahmanas. When Vasudeva was convinced that the newborn child was the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, he bowed down with folded hands and began to offer him prayers. At that time, Vasudeva was in the transcendental position, and he became completely free from all fear of Kamsa. The newborn baby was also flashing his effulgence within the room in which he appeared.
Vasudeva then began to offer his prayers. My dear Lord, I can understand who you are. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Super Soul of all living entities, and the Absolute Truth. We have appeared in your own eternal form, which is directly perceived by us. I understand that because I am afraid of Kamsa, you have appeared just to deliver me from that fear. You do not belong to this material world. You are the same person who brings about the cosmic manifestation simply by glancing over material nature.
One may argue that the Supreme Personality of Godhead who creates the whole cosmic manifestation simply by his glance, cannot come within the room of Devaki, the wife of Vasudeva. To eradicate this argument, Vasudeva said, "My dear Lord, it is not a very wonderful thing that you have appeared within the womb of Devaki, because the creation was also made in that way. You were lying in the causal ocean as Mahavishnu, and by your breathing process, innumerable universes came into existence. Then you entered into each of the universes as Garbhodakshai Vishnu. Then again you expanded yourself as Shirodakshai Vishnu, and entered into the hearts of all living entities, and even into the atoms. Therefore, your entrance into the womb of Devaki is understandable in the same way. You appear to have entered, but you are simultaneously all-pervading. We can understand your entrance and non-entrance from material examples. The total material energy remains intact even after being divided into 16 elements. The material body is nothing but the combination of the 5 gross elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Whenever there is a material body, it appears that such elements are newly created, but actually, the elements are always existing outside of the body. Similarly, although you have appeared as a child in the womb of Devaki, you are also existing outside. You are always in your abode, but still you can simultaneously expand yourself into millions of forms.
So thus concludes our hour reading to Srila Prabhupada, our Sunday Krishna book reading to Srila Prabhupada. So mark your books here in the Advent of Lord Krishna, and we'll pick up where we're leaving off today next Sunday. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for allowing us to come and read Krishna book to you. And please accept our humble obeisances, and to each other. Namo Vishnu Vadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paskachade Shatarane. And to each other. Vanchakalpa Turubhischa Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Krishna Book, Shri Gauda Bhakta Vrinda.